Welcome to another episode of the brand called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome for a second time an accomplished professional and a coach from Hong Kong, Meheru Terrell. Meheru, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. Such a pleasure to be here today
Thank you.
once again with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Meru is an ICF PCC. She's a certified youth coach and she's a mother. And in her own words, she's an almost Miss India in 1994. And you can see a lot of her in 1994 still stays with her. And she's a blogger of a blog titled From Miss India to Motherhood. So, Meru, we had a fascinating conversation the last time we spoke, and today I thought we were going to focus on coaching teenagers and young adults. But let me start by asking you one or two more basic questions. You had a very diverse career from working at the Tata Group to becoming an entrepreneur and a certified coach. What was the inspiration for this transition?
Wow. This question, I mean, the answer to this question can go on forever,
I
but
know.
just to
Yes.
keep it short, I think I am one of those who loves following their passion. I believe in listening to my heart when it calls out, which may or may not be great for people around me sometimes because I can be quite loud with what I really want to do, and I do it. I do it. And I guess that's the reason why I have had such a diverse career path and a
Hmm.
life journey.
Hmm.
Wow.
Fascinating. And, moving from India to Hong Kong and building a career in Hong Kong must have come with its own set of challenges. What were some of the biggest obstacle you faced?
Well, having been born and brought up in Mumbai, India.
Yeah.
And, I did my schooling there, college life, my friend circle, everyone was just there in that one place. So I knew where I was and everybody knew me. And I think I'd taken that for granted.
Mm.
It was only when I moved to an absolutely different country that I realized my slate was wiped clean. I had to start writing all over again.
Mm.
And it was a fresh start, which was great, but at the same time got overwhelming when I didn't know where to start. I mean, should I start writing from left to right, from top to bottom? How do I do it? What do I do? So I would say just starting off in a brand new place and having to build my own contact base and my own familiar zone was probably one of the biggest challenges.
Amazing. And I guess, that is always a challenge of expat life, isn't it? When you move from one place to the other and readjusting in a new environment. But
Right.
my next question for you, Meru, is that, you've coached individuals across different life stages. And as your signage behind you says, you are a business coach. What drew you to working specifically with teenagers and young adults?
Right. Thank you, Ashutosh. I think when I started this coaching journey way back now, it feels like during the COVID years when we were all going through so much of a transition in our lives. I remember asking this question to one of my mentors, like, what happens after I get certified? Like, when do I get started? And then who do I coach and all that? And he just smiled and he looked at me and he said, Meru, coaching is a journey. And those words just leap out and come to me today because that's what I'm experiencing. I mean, coaching doesn't mean you finish your certification and you start coaching a certain clientele and that's it. No, it is a journey. With every person that who I coach, I learn so much more about myself. I shed so many of my own inhibitions along with that person. And just in this process, I realize, you know, um, that coaching can help anyone
Yeah.
and everyone. And being a mother, now that leading to your question, why teenagers? I mean, being a mother and having two teens in my house at that time, my teenage boys, and realizing how coaching is helping them. So, I just started talking to them as a coach instead of a mother, instead of that whole top-down
Mm,
approach that we have as parents, especially when our kids are younger. But as they grow older, we don't realize it that they are
mm,
adults as well.
mm.
They are adults. They have you want to make them independent, confident, etc.
Yeah.
So you need to start talking them at their level.
Mm.
And that's what really inspired me
Great
to start
response. Great
coaching
response.
other
Thank
teams.
you.
Yeah.
But tell me, based on the work that you are doing with the future of the world, teenagers and young adults, what are some of the biggest struggles you have seen them facing?
Wow. Okay. So I think one of the big ones, there are quite a few. One of the big ones
Yeah.
is self-doubt.
Mm,
Self-doubt for teens is a big one in
mm,
the sense that no matter what they do, how much ever they achieve, they always feel that they are not good enough. And I have spoken to some of the high achievers at
mm,
IIM Mumbai when I was coaching some of them. I have spoken to, an average college person out here in Hong
mm,
Kong, and they
mm,
all suffer from that
mm,
same self-doubt.
mm. Amazing. And, when I was preparing for my conversation with you, I also picked up a word which is resilience. What does
Hmm.
resilience mean in the context of teenagers, and how can they develop this?
So I often, when I speak in my mom circles, and I hear other parents and moms telling me that, oh, my boy does this and my daughter does that, and I want to be able to help them, and I want to be able to, work along with them, teach them, protect them, guide them, nurture them. All that is great.
Mm,
All that is great. But my only urge to them is let them learn for themselves.
mm,
Let them fall before they can pick themselves up
mm,
and learn from their own mistakes. Yes, as parents we do want to be able to protect them, not let them make the same mistakes that we probably
mm.
did in our teenage years.
Yeah.
But resilience is one skill that if you teach your child how to
Mm,
pick himself up or herself up after falling down, how to brush off the dust and dirt and just keep carrying on.
mm,
That is such an important life skill you can teach your child who is, say, about to move into university, and who's going to guide them there after they
yeah.
leave home, for
Mm,
example. I mean, then what are you going to do? How much are you going to protect them?
mm,
So, yes, okay, today their grades may not be A stars, but and while they are moving towards that,
mm,
the other important skill that you need to be able to teach them is building resilience and how they can, feel
mm,
confident, knowing that they can pick themselves up after a fall.
Well said. A few minutes back, you were telling me about one of the big challenges a lot of the young people face is self-doubt. For my
Hmm.
young viewers and listeners, um, tell me, how do you help people facing self-doubt to build their own confidence?
Sure. Thank you. So, what I really encourage
Mm,
teens as well as adults when I coach them is to just be aware of their emotions. Okay. So, anytime this kind of a doubt comes, I call it a negative thought or a negative emotion, whether it comes up in terms of a self doubt, it comes up
mm,
in terms of, a slight constricted
yeah,
chest
yeah.
or stooping shoulders
Mm,
or so those are the physical aspects like your heart beating faster, your palms getting sweaty. And then I just ask them to just sit back and take a deep breath and just be with their senses. They can be with their breath, they can be with their, you just touch your fingertips. We call it PQ reps
mhm,
in positive intelligence, wherein you're actually guiding your mind, you're training your mind to listen to you rather than letting your mind overrule you. And the
mm,
best way to do it is to be in touch with your emotions. You're
mm,
feeling anger, okay? You're feeling your face flush. Just stop. Just
mm,
pause for a minute and know, okay, fine, I'm feeling angry in this moment.
mm,
I'm just going to settle down
mm.
and it'll pass.
Wow.
And it'll pass.
Mm,
Why? Because you're focusing now on that sensation in your body.
Correct.
So that's the first step.
Mm.
That's literally the first step that you do whenever you are feeling any kind of negative emotion.
Mm.
And then the second step is to be able to, you know, people call it, meditation, or people, there are various words to it. I call it PQ reps because it's so simple to be able to guide your mind to be aware of that emotion and then come out of it just by being with your senses.
Mm.
Once you do that, you're moving from negative to neutral.
Mm.
And now, how do you move from neutral to positive?
Yeah.
By using one of the sage powers, as we say.
Mm.
So, show empathy to yourself, empathy. Find out, be kind to yourself, be
Mm.
kind to others, look at the situation. And like empathy, there are other sage powers like curiosity and navigate and activate and so on.
Mm. Well said. The other challenge that a lot of young people struggle with is to make career and educational choices. And I know that from the generation that I'm from, which is an older baby boomer, it was parents who basically made those career choices. How do you guide young people who are much more independent than probably their own parents or grandparents were?
Right. So that's a great question, Ashutosh, because many of my teenage coachees
Mm.
come to me with this question, including my own boys. And
Mm.
I can probably give an example of my own son going through this choice that he had to make between two equally brilliant universities in two different parts of the world. What and how can he make this decision, right? So, the first thing to understand is again, it comes back to yourself.
Mm.
In the same way that I said, you just sit and just relax and just be aware of your thoughts,
Mm.
be aware of your strengths, be aware of your positives, be aware of things that you're not comfortable with and things you are comfortable with.
Mm.
It may be the best, it may be a Harvard waiting for you and giving you that offer to come
Yeah.
and join them.
Mm.
But are you really going to thrive in a place like Harvard, whose values are da 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 da? Are your values the same? Are your strengths the same? And if they are, great. Please, that college is for you, that
Correct.
career path is for you. But if it's not, if there is a clash, then no matter how great being a doctor can be, if your strengths are not aligned to
Yeah.
being a doctor, then
Mm.
that's not the career path with you. So in
Mm.
simple words, just be aware of your own strengths, of your own inhibitions, your own weaknesses, and start from there, moving on.
Mm.
Then I start asking them other
Mm.
questions and so
Well
on.
said. Well said. So, you've given me some interesting thoughts for our viewers and listeners that, take a call on what are your strengths. But the other challenge that a lot of young people face is how do they determine what are their strengths and how do they develop decision making skills to take ownership of their choices?
Right. So a little bit of this would be based in this whole equation of parenthood and how much
Mm.
independence we give our child. Say,
Right.
starting when they are tweens, when they are 12 and 13-year-old, let them take those smaller decisions at that time. Let them learn from their mistakes.
Mm.
Let them understand themselves, because that's really the start of them showing that independence.
Mm.
And your confidence, their confidence is also going to come from
Mm.
there.
Mm.
So going ahead, they become more aware of who they are and their strengths. And if not, of course, there are so many assessment tools out there that could tell them. But I would say, just speaking to those who are really close to you, you may think that, I am A, B, C. But then when you start talking to, say, your aunt or your best friend and ask them, hey, what are the three top strengths do you think I have? You will be surprised with those answers
Mm.
because you may not have even considered those to be your strengths.
Yeah.
So just being very aware of yourself as well as having these kind of smaller conversations with people around you is a starting point to knowing yourself better.
Fascinating. The other thing that I've seen with a lot of young people and parents of young people is a worry about the increase in mental health challenges.
Mm.
How do you help young people build emotional resilience?
So, emotional resilience is nothing but, again, coming back to that power between sage and saboteur,
Mm,
as I put it, the
mm,
power between the right brain and the left brain, the power between your positive thoughts and your negative thoughts.
mm,
And how do you constantly rewire your brain?
mm.
So neuroplasticity is something that I have only recently learned, but it has been there for such a short time.
Yeah.
I mean, you might think, even at 50, for example, I can learn new things
Mm,
if only I use that power of rewiring my brain.
correct.
So definitely a 20-year-old or a teenager has that power within himself or
Absolutely.
herself to be able to retrain their minds. And
Absolutely.
that is the crux of, emotional intelligence,
Mm,
being aware of your emotions, being aware of when they come up, and being able to handle them in a positive way rather than lashing out when you're angry.
mm,
Settle yourself down, see what's really in it
mm,
for you, and then go ahead with a positive response.
mm. Very well said, and you're so right. You can learn at any age. I mean, I'm 68, and the amount of joy I have in learning so much about AI and technology, it keeps me excited. So there's absolutely right that there's no age to stop learning. But
Right. If I can just add this little bit
please,
here,
yeah.
that when you spoke about mental health and parents and teens and anyone, their concerns start when things are not going right. And
Mm,
that's the time they feel like, okay, I need to do something about this. Maybe I need to visit, a therapist or a coach and see what's to be done. I would say, and I always encourage my sons as well, that start with the happy moments in your life. Start
mm,
with the celebrations. I mean, if you achieved something small, just leap out in the air and say, yes, I've done it.
yes.
I've done it.
Mm, mm,
There's no shame in showing yourself and people who are close to you how happy you are for
mm,
achieving that something small.
mm,
Because with that, the rewiring of the brain is also happening. Your brain is getting used to helping you celebrate when something
mm,
good happens in your life.
mm.
And that's the whole rewiring process. You don't need to wait for a negative moment to
Correct.
then start the rewiring,
Mm,
right? Because you're training your brain, all right, something good has happened. I'm going to go out and I'm going to feel good about this. I'm going to
mm.
clap my hands. I'm going to give someone a hug. With that, you are actually rewiring.
Fascinating. The other distraction that I have seen with a lot of young people and happens with older people as well is social media and a lot of the technology that surrounds us. What is your view is the impact of all this technology on the mental well-being of each one of us?
Right. So over here, the word balance really comes to me,
Correct.
Ashutosh, and I use it all the time with my teen clients. I'm not saying technology is good or bad. Technology is there and it's meant to support us. You can't hide away from it. You can't take your phone away from parents. And I mean, I also see parents who track their kids. Fine, you can do that. But at the end of the day, technology is here for a reason. It's meant to be able to help us connect and know so much more about our world that probably
Mm.
you and I, Ashutosh, we
Yeah,
never got access to. We only
correct.
had access to our libraries, the old age libraries, wherein a book was your knowledge, and we were limited to that book.
Yeah,
But now you just type anything into Google, and the whole world is at your feet.
correct.
So, I would say keeping limits, having some boundaries on technology, letting your child even socialize on technology, because
Mhm.
that's how they do it these days. They don't probably, I mean, no one comes. Sorry, I remember my days when I used to just like walk out and two buildings away, stand downstairs and start shouting out my friends' names, and then they come down, and then we move on to the
Yeah,
building after.
yeah,
I mean, that shouting out and now happens on social media.
correct.
So you can't not let your child have that experience. You
That's
can't
right.
not let
Mm,
them socialize,
right.
but have limits.
Yeah.
Have limits. Put some guidelines as per whatever your family is comfortable with,
Mm,
and then it's a win-win for all.
absolutely. So I have time for two more questions for you, Meru. What
Sure.
role does family play in shaping a teenager's mindset and his or her resilience?
Oh, very big role. Very, very big role. So
Mm,
when you say teenagers, again, I would start even as early as
yeah.
10 or 11. That's when they still listen to us,
Mm,
but their brain is actually shaping up to
mm,
help them, expose themselves to people outside their world. So people outside their family, they want to be able to make new friends,
mm,
and that's the time I think building of trust between a child and a parent becomes really, really important.
mm,
Having that kind of an open, welcoming education from a parent to a child, telling them that no matter what, I'm here for you.
mm.
Come and tell me anything. And when they come back with those tiny little bits of, do you know, mom, he did this and this is what happened, just listen. I would say the best thing and the only thing a parent needs to do at that point in time is just to listen
Correct.
without any
Mm,
judgments. Don't bring in your experiences. Don't bring in your, oh, but I think this is good and I think that's not. And that's it. The child is not going to come back to
I know.
you again with
Absolutely.
sharing the experience. They're like, oh no, mom's going to think this, so I'm not going to bring it.
I
So
know.
those are the crucial years
Mm,
wherein you really need to build that solid bridge of trust and openness in your relationship.
absolutely. So well
Um,
said. What you're really saying is don't tell the children that when I was young, I used to swim across a river to go to school. But my last question for you, Meru. Uh,
yeah.
can you share a success story of a young coachee where coaching has made a significant difference in their life? And I don't need any names, of course.
Of course, yeah, yeah. I'll really sweet story comes to mind. So I coach the students, and I'm sure I can give the name of the university. It's called Shulini University in India.
Mm,
And one of the best parts about this university is the way they have embraced coaching
mm,
and have an absolute coaching culture, opened it out to their students. So every student, whoever is interested, gets a coach. And
mm,
this is one of those students who I've coached over there.
mm,
Started off as a very, very extreme, shy, introvert kind of a person,
mm,
not even wanting to get out of bed during the coaching calls, just not sure, extremely non-verbal, I would say, and it gets really tough when your
mm.
coachee doesn't want to
Yeah.
talk.
Mm,
But just one or two sessions down, the building of the trust between a coach and a coachee is so important for
mm,
them to be able to share their emotions. So there was a lot of self-doubt there.
mm,
There was a lot of, I don't know what my friends are going to think of me. A lot of confusion as to how do I even, face, forget the exam, but just how do I face my day-to-day life? How do I face my friends? What do I do? What will they think? And so on. And then, of course, we had our usual 6 coaching sessions, through which, I mean, they started sharing so much more, bringing out so much more. Whenever a coachee brings out so much more of what's happening within them and around them, it always helps to, the conversation going a little more fluidly, and it helps them, it greatly benefits them.
mm.
So we finished our sessions, and that's about it. And just the other day, I got a really sweet message saying, "Ma'am, thank you so much for helping me this is what I have scored in my exams today. And I must tell you that it's thanks to what you told me and through all our sessions that I have been able to absolutely feel good about myself and be happy. So for me, it wasn't so much about grades, but about that person
Yeah,
feeling good and feeling happy and, feeling just successful
right.
in their own mind.
Correct.
So
Wow. What an amazing story. Thank you. And on that note, Meru, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. I think we covered some very interesting grounds on coaching teenagers, young adults. We spoke about some of the struggles, how to build resilience. We spoke about handling self doubt, on making career and educational choices. You also spoke about how you help people develop decision making skills. And then we covered at some length, and I'm sure we could have gone much more uh, deeply into the subject on mental health, which is a challenge that a lot of people are facing now, and of course, the role of family. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
thank you so much, Ashutosh. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.